By the way,
Yeah.
my computer had to be reset.
Yeah, I heard you lost your files or something.
Yeah, because it wasn't starting over. My dad just,
Reset it?
yeah.
Oh no. Yes, I think we sent you the files of the projects we have done, but today we're starting a new lesson, so you just need to open up a new file. So, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any other important files on there?
No, not really.
Okay. That's good at least. Okay, so if you don't have it already, open up idle, please.
But before we started, I opened everything.
Oh, you opened everything already? All the projects? Oh, you opened, all right, sorry, idle and stuff. Okay, cool, that's good. David, do you have Python open?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So we're just gonna be on the Python shell for now, so make sure you're on the one which has those three little arrows. Today, we're gonna be learning about something called loops and conditionals. Oh, sorry, not loops, comparisons and conditionals.
Oh yeah.
Yep, have you heard of it before? Or?
Yeah, I heard of it.
You have? Okay, that's good. Yeah. So what we can do is, like conditionals are how we can check one thing with another. So like, we want to check like if, like again, if we use a game example, if we want to check if the score has reached 100, we can check like, is the score 100? Then we want to do something. So I'll first explain an if statement. So, well, first I'll explain like comparing data. So, you know how we make variables?
Yeah.
Yep. So I want you guys to make like a quick variable called score. And you can give it a number. So like I might just say 10. And you press enter. So it doesn't look like anything has happened, but if you type in the word score and press enter, you get the number 10 or whatever number you put in.
Yep.
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 So with the conditional, we can like ask, is the score 10? And then the program will kind of tell us if it's true or false. So it's kind of like you can use it to make decisions, like I was saying before. So maybe if you want to say you win after 10 points, you can be like, if the score is 10, then we want to say you win. So it would only happen if the score is 10. But anyway, back to this example. So when we're setting a variable, we use one equal sign to say the score is equal to 10. But if we want to check if the score is equal to a number, we have to use two equal signs. So if I type in the word score equals 10, it should say true. So did you get that result as well?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So the double equal sign is how we check something is true or false. If we just have the one equal sign, it's just like assigning the value. So now try score with a different number, like try check it with like 20 maybe. Score equals 20 and see what happens. And then did you get a different result?
Yeah, I got false.
Yeah. So those are the two like answers you can get back when you're comparing a condition. So you can either get true or false. Because we set score to 10 and we were checking if the score is equal to 10, it told us true because we were just asking pretty much, is 10 equal to 10? So now if we change the variable score to be like a different number, maybe 100, and then check if score is equal to 10, you should now get false.
Nah.
So I'll give you guys just a couple of minutes to play around with different numbers and checking if it's equal to stuff. So it doesn't always have to be a variable. You could like do it with a number, like is 20 equal to 10? Like we know they're not equal to each other, but we're just using this double equal sign to check if it is. And then it tells us false. Or you could do it with two variables as well. So if you make another variable, like high score is equal to, you can check like if score is equal to the high score. So just like play around with different variables and numbers for a minute or two.
Excuse me, Chester, is it okay that you lost your files?
Yeah.
Doesn't impact your lesson today?
No.
Alright, cool.
So does everyone understand the difference between the one equal sign and the double equal sign?
Yes.
Yep. Cool. How about you, David?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. So do you get how we can check if something is equal to each other? Does it make sense so far? Or do you want like another minute just to play around with it?
No, fine.
You're fine? Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm
So
good.
now, so that's just one thing we can check to see if something is true or false. But we can also do it the opposite. So we can check if something is not equal to another thing. So for example, if we have our score and the high score variable, I will just use our score variable for now. So if we want to check if the score is not equal to the number 10, then we might want to do something. So to do not equals, you do an exclamation mark and then an equal sign. So if score not equal to 10, and if you press enter, it says true. So it's the opposite of checking if something's equal to something. Sometimes it's a bit confusing though, because the true false thing might get a bit confused. But yeah, because what we have is we have our score. Mine's at 100 right now. So if we're checking score not equal to 100, it would say false. Because it's saying, is the score not equal to 100? No, it's not equal. It's not equal to. It is equal to. That makes sense. So play around with a few different versions of that too, so you can see how it works. So you can make up new variables if you want, like x as well. X is not equal to 3. And you can try different combinations. So does the equals thing not equals to make sense as well to everyone?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So now we can move on to another thing. So have you guys, I think you would have done it in maths, like, greater than and less than, the symbols.
Yeah.
You done that? Yep. So like that arrow or that arrow. So we can also check. So we've checked if something's equal to something, or we've checked if something's not equal to something. So we can also check if something is like greater than or less than a number. So sometimes, again, like in the game, you might want to keep playing a game until you reach 100 points. So you might always check, like, if the score is less than 100, you want to keep playing. So just as an example, we have our variables score again. So mine's 100. So I can say, is score less than 200? And yes, it says true because the score is less than 200. And then if I want to say, is score greater than 200, it would say false because 100 is not greater than 200. And you can also say, is score less than 100 to see what happens, because just remember my score is at 100 right now. So I want to check if my score is less than 100. What will it tell me? It will say false. And that's correct because it's not less than 100. It actually is 100. Does that make sense to everyone so far?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. So if I typed in, so I'm just going to press enter a few times so it doesn't confuse you. Hang on. Just someone a new line. So if I typed in, I made a new variable. I'm just going to call this variable x. Oh. X is equal to 50. So now if I wrote this line of code, x is less than 25, what do you think the answer will be? So do you think I'll get true or false?
I think it's gonna be false.
False? Okay.
Yeah.
Chester, what do you think?
False.
False? Okay. And let's see.
It's false.
Yep, you're right. So it's false because
Yay!
50 is not less than 25. So we can try it again. So now if I change x to 30, wait, no, 15, and then if I go x is less than 25, what would I get?
True.
David, what do you think?
True.
True? Yep, you are correct. So if
Yes.
I did it the other way around, oh no, okay, yeah. So if I did greater than, so if I went if x is greater than 25, what do you think? Ooh, what do you think it will give me? So this one's a bit more tricky.
It will give you
False.
Okay, so
false.
Chester's saying false, David's saying false. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. Because it's only checking if it's greater than or less than, it's not checking if it's equal to. If we want to check if it's equal to, we can go x equal to 25, and then what would it say here?
False.
False?
No, true.
True?
It's gonna
Hang
be
on.
true.
No, it's false. 'Cause
Oh.
yeah, hang on.
Okay.
That was my
So it
fault
doesn't
because
make it,
so
much
that
of
was
a
right. I think I got mixed up before and thought x was 25, but because x is 15, it would be false. So good job, Chester. So yeah, so if I went if x is greater than 15, that's what I was meant to ask you guys before, it would still say false because even though it's equal to it, it's still not greater than 15. But if you want to check if something is greater than and less than something at the same time, like say if we wanted to go, is x greater than or equal? Sorry, I was meant to say greater than or equal to. So if x is greater than or equal to 15, we want to get an answer. So to do that, we do the greater than sign and an equal sign. So now if we, so what do you think the answer will be if I press enter here?
True.
So is x greater than or equal to 15? David, what do you think?
I think it's gonna be true.
True. And if I press enter, yep, it's true. And then if I do it the other way around, is x less than or equal to 15? What do you think it would be? So you can just have a guess if you're not sure. So Chester, David, do you have an idea on what this line might be?
I think that would be.
I think it would be true.
Okay, true. Chester, what did you say, sorry?
True.
True. So if you press enter, yep, it's true. So because we know x is 15, yeah, because x is 15, both of these will be true because we're checking is x greater than or equal to 15 or is x greater than, less than or equal to 15. So that's that. Just play around with those as well on your computer. to the greater than and less than and see what answers you get. So does everyone know the difference between the greater than and less than sign as well?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? So I'll just quickly explain it anyway. So you know how we have these little, they're kind of like arrows? We pretend that like the arrow is like a crocodile's mouth. So this is just
Yeah.
a random number. The crocodile's mouth would always be facing the bigger number. So right now, like it's facing the smaller number because it's trying to eat the smaller number. So that means it's saying that 100 is less than 2. Like it always wants to face the greater number, like bigger number. So if it's actually facing the bigger number, that's a greater than sign. So 100 is greater than 2. If we did it the other way, even though it doesn't make sense, it would give us false. But it's because the like mouth usually like in maths is meant to face the bigger number, and if it isn't, then it's the other way around, if that makes sense. So pretty much that's less than to like number less than to like less than, and then the other one is greater than.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, does that make sense? Greater than. Yeah. So yeah, just play around with some values, and then you can also go back and check like the equal sign again and the not equal sign, just to see how they work and the different answers you'll get. So yeah, with the greater than or less than, the crocodile's mouth would always face the bigger number. And if it's not facing the bigger number, then the answer is false. So like 100 facing a smaller number, 30, the answer would be false. If it's like,
I found something out.
pardon?
I found something out.
What did you find out?
That you can't do 3 things.
You can't do 3 things. So like, what do you mean 3
So
things?
I did the smaller number facing crocodile, big number facing crocodile, and then an equal sign.
So you tried to do it all at once?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't work? Yeah. So the reason why it didn't work is because like the little crocodiles, like crocodiles in equals to, that's like its own symbol. So you know how there's like the normal one, that just means less than. But if it has an equal to, it means less than or equal to. But if you try add another thing, like it doesn't mean less than or equal to or greater to. If you want to do that, we might learn it a bit later on in the lesson, but there's something called or, where we actually have to type in the word or. Actually, you could probably do it now, so you can be like, is 1 less than 10, or is 1 greater than or equal to 10, and you get true. So if you wanted to do like something like that to check if 2 things happen, you would need that or. The reason why we didn't like we can do it like this as well. So is 1 less than 10 or 1 equal to 10? That's like the same as this. So these two lines mean the same thing, but like in programming languages, that's just a shortened way of doing that.
Can you do 2 ors?
Yep. So you can do heaps of ors. So you can be like 1 less than 10 or 1 or 2 not equal to 20. Like you can keep doing ors, but sometimes you just have to be careful because you might get confused yourself when you have so many things. So you can have a go at playing around with that too. cool.
Yep.
Does that make sense to both of you?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of these are just kind of like math symbols used to compare other values, and we get true or false. But to actually put that into code, like if we want to only do something if one of these is true or if one of those is false, we use something called an if statement. So has anyone heard of an if statement before? No? So that's okay. You're not quite
Nine.
sure? That's okay. So an if statement pretty much means like you can decide if something should happen. So that's why the word if is there. So you can decide if this is true, then we want to do this. So an example is, I'll just make a variable. So I have like a variable and I've made it 7. X is equal to 7. Now what I want to do is I want to say if X is equal to 5, I want to print some bit of code. So actually what I'll get you to do is make a new file now. So because the shell is like good if we have
New
one
file.
line of thing. Yeah, we want a couple of lines. So
New file. Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
File, new file. So then we can
New
start
file.
doing some Python code.
Okay. Got
Yep.
him.
Got it? Cool. So Chester, do you have a new file open too?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll make a variable. For example, X is equal to 7. So that's just assigning a value to it. So we're just setting it up kind of. And now what we can do is we can check if X is equal to 7. If X is equal to something, we want to do something else. So for example, type in
Oh,
the,
yeah, I think I remember an if
you think
statement.
you remember? That's good. So
Kind of.
if kind of, so that's okay if you kind of remember it. So what we can do is we can go if X is equal to, so we might want to check if X is equal to 5. And if it is, we want to do something. So to go on to the next line, you can't just press enter and then type some words. So like print hello. You can't just do this because Python will tell you there's an error. So if I run it and show you. So while you're waiting, you guys can save your project somewhere if you haven't already.
Cool.
So let me just.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah. So if you run it now, you should get something called invalid syntax. So that's because whenever we have this if statement, we need to do something else. So if you go back into your code, if you have if X is equal to 5, to actually type something after that, we need to do this semicolon or this colon sign and then press enter. So now if you see, when you type, do you see how there's like a bit of space at the beginning? So before like this bit of text I have, there's some space. It's not completely on the edge. We want that space. So do you guys remember how we did for loops a couple of weeks ago? So you know how we had that loop for range, like for something in range? Yeah. So we did the same thing with those as well. Because do you remember how we had this little sign and then pressed enter to get that space? So it's the same thing with the if statements, because the program needs to know what bit of code is part of this if statement and what bit of code is just normal. Like this is just normal in the file, the X equals 7, but this line of code, the FH, is just in the if statement. So now what we can do is we can say print, for example, the number is 5. So what our program is doing right now is it's setting up a variable, which we called X, and we're now checking. If the variable is equal to 5, we want to print a message saying the number is 5. Or maybe like, yeah.
Got him.
Got it? Okay, so now you can run it and try see what happens.
Okay. Run.
So tell me what happens once you've run it. So does anyone know what's happening?
Let me just type in 5, 5, 4, 4,
So it
3, 3. It tells us everything I do. Like if I type 5, it just types 5 after me.
It
If
just
I
types
type
5.
4, it's the same.
Oh yeah, so that's just your Python shell doing that. So that's not our program. So if we press run, so if you watch my screen,
Just
and
gonna go for so long.
yeah, so if you just press run and look really quickly, it just opens up the shell straight away and it doesn't do anything. So the reason for that is because our code right here is not doing anything. Because if we look at our code, in our file, we have x is equal to 7. And then in this if statement, we check if x is equal to 5.
So we
Only
need to
then
type
we
in
wanna
X for that too. Wait, can I try that?
You can try it, yeah?
Yes.
To see what
It says X equals 7. If I type in X, it says 7.
x. Oh yeah, yeah. So that's in the Python shell. But if we just look at our code right now, like we have x is equal to 7, we know that. And now we're checking if x is equal to 5. So if you just look at those first 2 lines of code, do you think we'd get true or would we get false?
False.
False? Yeah. So because we got false, it's not doing this line of code. Because this line of code only happens if the answer is true. So if we change our variable x to 5 and then try run it, see what happens now.
Okay, changing it to 5. Running it. The number is 5. From the start, it says the number is 5.
Yeah.
So let me just type in X 5. It just types in the number is 5.
Yeah, so the number is 5. That's because that's what our program is telling us to do. So if we go back into this, let me show you again. So it's just like, you know how before when we got true, false, like when we less than true, it's like that, but this time we're saying if one of them is true, we want to write a message. So like we can change this so it doesn't have to be numbers. So it can be like x is equal to the like text blah. Okay, no. We'll change a variable. So we'll go name is equal to, and then you can type in your names. So make sure this is a string. So we want to put it in quotation marks. And now in our if statement, we want to say name is equal to how much. And then in our print statement, we can say, you know, something like maybe the variable name is Amani. So it's the same thing as what we were doing today, but I mean before, but instead of numbers, it's with words or strings. So once you have that, try run it and see what happens. So you should get that message. So has everyone run it yet?
Yeah, mine is false.
Yours is false, so it doesn't say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so that might be because you like maybe you
I think
spelled
I
it slightly
misspelled something.
differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you have like a space or something, it would think you've spelt it wrong as well because a space is part of a letter. Like it thinks it's like a letter, you know, it doesn't think it's nothing. But Chester, did that work for you as well or didn't work? Did you get the message saying like the variable name is, or was it just blank? Chester?
I'm sure I didn't get that. I was just
All right.
practicing the other thing.
All right. That's okay. So if you type this bit of code, so actually I think we might go back to like the numbers just because it's shorter, but okay, I'm going to change the variable back to x just because this is what we were practicing before. So maybe we can check if x is equal to 100. We can say the message, you know, x is 100. Okay, so in your files, everyone, make sure you have these 3 lines of code. So it's the same as what we had before. We just have a variable, setting it, we're assigning it, and now we're checking. If our variable is equal to the number 100, we just want to tell the person a message, x is 100. So try run that, and
Yeah,
you should
wait.
get the message, x is 100.
Okay, I'm running it.
Mm-hmm. So Chester, try run it as well.
Okay.
See what happens. So you should get the message.
Yep.
Yep.
It says 100.
So don't type anything in your Python shell. Just run the program and see what happens. So like I just run my program. I'm not typing anything. And it should just tell you that message you wrote, like in blue text. So is that what you guys got to?
No.
Yep.
Yep. No? So what did yours say, Chester?
So
Did it
like
just
when I
nothing?
run, says it must be saved first. I'd saved it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it came up with like this message on the
What?
screen.
Like an error message?
Not on idle.
Oh, not an idle. Do you want to share your screen so I can see what happened? Let me
Okay.
stop mine for a second. Oh, okay. So it's saying no such file or directory. So I think maybe somehow you accidentally deleted that file or something. Maybe just try save it in a different spot with a different name.
That's one I saved.
So that's where it is. But yours, it's called something else. So in your one, it's saying it's in documents, in the folder documents, and it's saying it's called Python string. So it's in documents and then a folder called Python project.
It's not coming up with it.
Oh, so it's not coming up with it. Yeah, so I think that's
what
why.
I remember calling it, but it's not coming up with it.
Yeah, that's why the computer can't find that file because it's not there for some reason. Maybe just the file that you have open, try save it as and just save it in a different spot. So save it where that pi thing is. So at the bottom underneath save, there's something called save as. Okay. That's just another thing saying it can't find it. But if you just go back to that documents folder and then just save it in that pi folder if you want instead of, yep. And then you can keep the same name because you want to save it as Python string unless you want to give it a different name. Also Python, like in the programming language, it's spelled with an O.
Oh.
Yeah. So pi, T-H-O.
Oh. Wrong one.
Wrong. Yep. And then you can just save it. So that message you're getting was it somehow couldn't find where you saved that file, which is a true message because we also couldn't find where that file was. So I'll share my screen back again.
Okay.
Okay, and Chester, once you've saved it, just run it and see what happens. So you should get the message if your code is the same as mine. So David, now I want you to try change your variable x, so up on the top in your file, to be a different number. So maybe like 50, and see what happens there. So Chester, did you run your program?
Yay!
It
It
worked?
worked.
Cool.
Came up with X's.
Okay, so now try change your variable x to be a different number. So maybe like 50 or something. And then both of you run it and tell me if anything happens.
Yep.
Actually, before you run it, so
Okay.
you know how we had, you didn't run it yet? Okay, so you know how before when we were in the shell, we were typing in stuff like x equals 50 or x equals, not equals to, we were doing all that stuff. So if we just had this line, x is equal to 50, and then straight after x equals 100, what do you think we would get? Would it be true or false?
False.
False. What do you think, David?
I think it would be false.
Yep. So you guys are right. It would be false. So now with if statements, it only does it if the answer from this thing is true. So if we run this bit of code, do you think this message will be printed, or do you think it would just do nothing?
Do nothing.
Yeah?
Because I had run it before he said don't run it.
Yeah.
And it started with nothing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So
I think when you run it and you type 50, then it will tell you 50. Or if you do X, it will tell you 50 in brackets, like kind of brackets things.
yeah. So that's not our program doing it. That's just like the Python shell doing it. But
Yeah.
usually when we run our program, like if we run it and it's true, straight away something should happen, like our message. But because it's false, it just does nothing. So that's why you just like go straight to the Python shell, because it's like, oh, like we have nothing else to show you in this program. We'll just keep it at Python shell now. So if we, hang on, I'll just open up idle again. So you know how you said the true false thing? It would only do what's in the if statement if something is true. So that's why if you run it now, so just already ran it, but David, if you run your program now, it should just do nothing. So like don't type anything, just run it and see what happens.
Okay.
So the thing you're seeing is just like the normal Python shell output.
Yeah, it does nothing, but if you print 50, it's gonna give you 50.
Yeah.
And if you print X, it's gonna give you 50 in brackets, kinda. Like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, so that's just the same as doing it in a normal Python shell. So if we go like print 50, oh, hang on. Print 50. Okay, I typed it wrong. Print 50, it gives you 50. And then if we go x is equal to 50 and type in x, it gives you 50. So that's what you're talking about, David. So that's just the Python shell just being its normal self, kind of. But
Oh yeah.
what we're looking at is what happens straight away. So when we're not doing anything and we try run the program. So it just does nothing because we told it to do nothing. Because this if statement only prints something if it gets true.
Okay.
So if I changed my code to be this, what do you think will happen? Will it print a message or will it just do nothing? Like, will it just be the normal shell? So I think Chester said print something.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so you're correct.
Yay!
To run it. Yeah. So now it prints something. So that's just because we told our program to print something. Because otherwise we said we don't have anything saying if it's not 50, if it's something else, we want to do something else. So we can do that now. So before we move on, does that make sense to everyone why print is only happening sometimes? Like because it's in this if statement?
Yes.
Makes sense to you, Chester? Yeah? How about you, David? David?
Yeah.
Yeah? Does this if statement make sense? So does it make sense why it's only sometimes printing?
I
And
think
why?
not.
You think not? Okay. That's okay. I'll explain it with some different examples. So what we'll do is, okay, I'm just gonna print a message. So this is just a normal message. Hello, like welcome to your program. So I just got rid of everything else for now and I'm just running like just a welcome message. So this will happen at any time. And now we can type in, we can make a variable. So maybe we'll call it score is equal to 100.
Okay.
And then what we want to do is we want to tell the like person who runs the program, if the score is equal to 100, we want to say you win or something like that.
Okay.
So to do that,
can we make it not 100 but 1,000,000 or 1,000?
Yeah, sure. You can make it 1,000,
Yeah.
million.
Can we make it whatever we want?
Yeah. You can make it whatever number you want.
Can we type in words instead of numbers?
Words, yeah. So you can do words or numbers. I'm just doing this example with numbers just so it's
like Victorial.
So if score is equal to Victorial, is that what you want to say? So
yeah.
we can
Score equals to Victorial.
So we'll do that later in the if statement. So we'll say like if score is equal to 100, we can say Victorial instead of you win. So it's just saying a message. Because I'm just doing it with numbers just so it's easier to understand. Because otherwise we might get a bit confused with the words for the minute. So now you need an if statement checking if the score is equal to, so we need the double equals to. So we can say if the score is equal to, we can say 1,000. And don't forget the little colon. And then press enter. So if the score is equal to 1,000, we want to print a message. So now you can write in like the words, like, did you want to say Victor Royale?
Yeah.
So like,
Victory Royale.
a victory.
Yeah.
Ooh, hang on. So like this?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So you can do that now in your if statement. So make sure there's a little bit of space here. So what we're saying is if our score is 1,000, then we want to tell the person who's running the program, like, Victory Royale. We just want to say that message. And then if the score is not equal to 1,000, what do you guys think will happen? Does anyone know?
It won't print it?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It won't print this Victory Royale message. So right now, if you run your program, so right now score is equal to 100, and I'm checking if score is equal to 1,000, I want to print Victory Royale. But because my score is not 1,000, I should only just get this welcome message and not the next bit of code. So if I run my program,
Where?
So I just get that welcome message, but that's all. So do you guys get a similar result?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So the reason why it's not printing Victory Royale is because score is not equal to 1000. So if we want to
How
make
do you
it,
get the score?
so to make it equal to, we'll go back into our program and change 100 to 1000. And now see what happens. So in your
Okay.
one, if your numbers are different, just make sure they're equal to each other. And then run it and see what happens. So now you should get the welcome message and the Victory Royale message. So did you guys get a similar result?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Victory Battle Royale.
Yeah. So David, the question for you, if up here, if I change my variable score to be 50, maybe? Oh, 500? What do you think will happen when we run the program? Will we get 1, just like the welcome message, or will we get 2, the welcome message and the Victory Royale message? So right now, David, if you look at our code, what is score equal to? What is our variable score? Like what number is it?
It's wait, I need to run it.
No, so if you just look at the code on my screen, so the one that I'm sharing.
Yeah.
So I have my variable. I'm setting my variable score to a number. So what number am I setting it as?
Um, 1,500, I think. No.
Wait, which one, sorry? Which number?
1,500 or 100.
Not exactly. So if you look at my code here, can you see this line?
Yeah.
So what's it
Variable
saying?
is 500, so you're gonna type in 500.
So I'm not typing anything in. This is just what we're typing in the program. So if we just look at this bit of code, what is the score? What is the value of the score? So you don't need to type anything in. It's just from what we're writing in our program. So what is the value of score?
The score value is 500.
Yep, exactly. So now, if we look at this if statement here, we're checking if the score is equal to 1000. So would we get true or false in this case? Like, is that statement true or is it false?
I think it's false.
Yep, that's right, because it's just the same as saying is like if 500 is equal to 1000, which it's not equal to, so then we get false. So because it's false, do you think this line of code happens or does it not happen? So just from looking at the code, you don't need to run or type anything. So if something is false with an if statement, does whatever's inside it happen or does it not happen?
It doesn't happen.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen. So David, did you hear what Chester said?
Yep.
Yep, so it doesn't happen. So if I run my program now, the only thing it will print is this hello, welcome to your program message. So you can run it and see what happens. Hello, welcome to your program. So just remember, don't type anything after that. We just want to see what the program gives us, like what messages it tells us. So does that make sense to you, David? Why we only get the hello, welcome to your program message? and not victory royale as well?
Kinda.
Kind of. So if I close that and went back into my code, if I change this if statement to be 500, so now I'm checking, is score equal to 500? So would that be true or false this time?
True.
Yep, true. So because it's true, then we print this message. So this message, the print victory royale, because it has this space there, it means it's part of the if statement. So whatever happens inside here only happens if the if statement is true. So if the result from this if statement is false, then it just would skip over this bit of code and go to the next line of code. And for us, there's no next line of code. Like we could maybe say print, do something else here. And then that would be the next line of code. But does that make sense now, David, a bit more? So only if something is true will whatever's inside this if block happen. If it's not true, so like what we had before, like if score is 10 now, if 10 is equal to 500, nope, that's false. It just skips this line and goes straight to the next line of code that we have. So try run it and see what happens. So David and Chester, did you try running it with the new changes? Yep. And what did you get? What results were printed?
Hello, welcome to your program.
Mm-hmm.
And do something else.
Yeah. So
that's kind of rude.
With me.
Kind of rude.
Yeah.
What?
I want to program.
You want to program?
Yeah. It's rude.
It's just telling, oh, I meant to write do something else here as in something else is meant to happen here. But I guess it turned out like it's telling you do something else. So yeah, that is a bit weird. So Chester, what were you saying, sorry?
Same thing happened. The same link came up as David.
Oh, the same thing? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And I got the same thing too. So can someone tell me why we only got the first, like those two messages instead of...
Because the score
Mm-hmm.
wasn't equal to the if score.
Yep. So it wasn't equal to 500. And this print victory royale only happens if score is equal to 500. So yep, good job. So David, does that make sense to you too?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is we can check if something is equal to something, and we can check that like a few times. We can say like if score is equal to 500, we want to say something. But if the score is equal to 400, maybe we want to say something else. So to do that, so when you press enter, you're still like here with the space. So make sure you press backspace until you're at the very edge again. And now we can use something called elif. So ELIF. So elif is just like an if statement, but it allows us to use like more than one if statements. So we can just do like a whole heap of if statements after each other. So it's saying if the score is 500, we want to print victory royale. Otherwise, if the score is 250, and then you do the colon and press enter, maybe we want to say print, like you're halfway there or something. And then, So what it's saying right now, it's saying if the score is 500, we want to print Victory Royale. If it's 250, we want to say you're halfway there. And then if it's anything else, it wouldn't do anything else. It would just skip to the next line. So if we changed our score up here, maybe I want it to be 250. What message or what messages do you think our program will write?
I'm not so sure.
You're not so sure. So try have a look at what's written. So like with these if statements, what happens when something is true? Which one is true out of them? Is any of them true? So right now up there, my score says 250. So do I have anything here that's checking if the score is 250? So David?
Yeah.
Can you see anything in our program that checks if the score is 250? So if the score is equal to? Yep. So which one is it?
It's if Alice's score equals 250.
Yeah.
Print your halfway there.
Yeah. So because our score is 250, it means this second one is true. So it will print you're halfway there. So like when it starts the program, it first does the welcome message, and then in the background, it sets up your score, and now it checks. Is the score 500? Is it true or false, guys? This first one? So
I think it's false.
Yep, it's false. So because it's false, it jumps straight to the next bit of code. So now this one, if the score is 250. So now you said that was true because it is. So instead of jumping to the next bit of code like here, it goes inside. So it would print this, you're halfway there, and then it goes to the next bit of code, which is the do something else here. So if we run it, we can see the result. So you should get 3 messages.
Yep.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now if we added another one, so else if or elif just lets us check multiple things. So we can check if it's equal to 500, we want to say this. Otherwise, if it's equal to 250, we want to say this. Or otherwise, like we can keep going. If it's equal to maybe 0, we can print a message saying something like, sorry, that's not enough or something. So now if I change my variable score to 100, so I want everyone to say which ones are true or false. So first our program will go to this line and it'll print the message. Now in the background, it's setting up our variable score, which is 100. So now with this first if statement, if score is equal to 500, is that true or false? So David and Chester.
False.
False? Yep.
Yep.
So because it's false, what will it do next? Will it go inside here to this inside the if statement, or will it skip to the next line?
Skip to the next line.
Yep, exactly. So now we're here. So it's saying else if score is equal to 250. So is that true or false?
That's true.
Is it?
Oh,
true?
no. No, it's not.
So, yep. So again, what will it do? Will it go inside and do whatever that if statement says, or will it skip to the next line?
Skip to the next line.
Yep, exactly. And now we're in our last one. So we're checking if the score is equal to 0. So is that true or false?
False
False.
again.
So again, it would just skip to the next line here.
Yes.
when
Every
we-
time it's false, it skips to the next line. If it's true, it goes and does the things that is in the brackets.
Yep, exactly. So it goes
Yep.
and does whatever you tell it to do inside here. So when you run this program, you would just get the hello, welcome to your program, and the do something else here. But if we
Yep.
changed it to something like 0, it would check this. That's false, so skip, check this. It's false, skip, check this. Oop, this one's true. So we want to print this message and then go on to the next line. So I think does that make sense to you both?
Yep.
Yep. Cool. Chester, how about you?
Yes.
Yep, makes sense. Okay. So the reason why these elif things are here is it just lets us check like multiple statements in one go. So like this elif is part of the if statement. So we're saying if it's equal to this, otherwise if it's equal to this, otherwise if it's equal to this. So it's just another way of doing an if statement, but together with like one main if statement. And then you can do one last one, which is just called an else. So elif is like else if, but else is a message. So you just say else and then press enter, and then you say like anything else. So like your number was some other number or something. So what the else does is it checks. So,
Yep.
if everyone looks up on my screen again. So we start
Yep.
off our program and it prints the welcome, hello, welcome to your program message. And now we have score, which is equal to 100. So it's set to 100. So now the first if statement, if score is equal to 500. Is that true or false?
False.
So then what will it do?
Because the score is 100.
Yep. So then what will it do?
It will skip to the next line.
Yep. So it skips to the next line. And now with this line, if score is equal to 250, will it skip to the next line? Or go inside and do whatever in there?
Skip to the next line.
Yep. And now we have else if score is equal to 0.
Skip it to the next line.
Yep. And then our last one is called an else. So what do you think it would do now?
Do the things that is in the brackets.
Yeah, exactly. So else pretty much means if it's anything else, we do what's here.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also that's,
So it has to be true. If it's else, it's like a joker in cars. It has to be true.
yeah, so else is kind of like it's always true, so it will always do this. But if like one of this was true, so it's always true except for unless it was already here. Because else always goes on the bottom. So if score is equal to 500, it will start here and it will do this bit of code and then it's finished with this whole if statement. Because this is all one big block of code, so it won't do the else because it already checked if score is equal to this, and it was. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions? No?
No.
No? Okay. Well, that's the end of the lesson now. So if there's no other questions, then I might leave it there.
Yep. I have no questions,
No
I think. Oh, yeah, I do know.
You do have a question? Or?
Oh, no.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's the end of the lesson for the term as well. So hope you guys had fun.
Yeah, maybe it in the next term.
Yeah, so maybe I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, it's the last week. So hopefully I might see you next term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to do it next.
You want to do it next time. That's good. But
Bye.
bye.